The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual guests. If you're a sensitive snowflake that may get easily offended, then turn this off immediately. If you want to hear the real truth about the gun culture, then stick around. This is the Armed Citizen Podcast. What is going on, my Go Squad? Welcome to the Armed Citizen Podcast Live. This is episode number 193. Today's date is Tuesday, May 25th, 2021. If you're out there in the live chat, make sure you say something. We don't know that you're out there unless you do. If you want to ask a question, make a comment or whatever, and you want to make sure we see it, you can do a couple of different things. One, you can tag one of us on the panel, if not myself, and tag someone else, or you can call. Yes, you can call or text into the show on the Ghost Tactical Hotline presented by our good friends Rod and Shelly Gates over at theguncleaners.com. That phone number is 530-364-4678. It will be scrolling right there. Right there, as a matter of fact. Right there. All right. If you are a veteran, anyone, but especially a veteran, and you are having a tough time, you're in that hole in the darkness, and you're starting to question if there's a light out there, feel free to contact me 24/7. Call, text, email, whatever. Get a hold of me. I cannot give you medical advice, but I probably sure as hell be a decent ear to listen, maybe talk you through some stuff. If you are looking for someone that could get you in the right path towards some medical advice and help, contact the Veteran Crisis Hotline at 1-800-273-8255. Once again, 1-800-273-8255. Remember, one, you are not alone. There are a lot of brothers and sisters out there that are willing and able to help. And two, the world is a much better place with you in it. So once again, drop the ego. We're here to help. 1-800-273-8255, the Veteran Crisis Hotline. Right there. There you go. And as always, we want to spotlight the United States Marine Corps. If you are got any questions about what it takes to earn the title United States Marine, go visit the website, marines.com. And we are part of the Self-Defense Radio Network. It's a nice, great website where you get like-minded, pro-gun, pro-2A, pro-freedom podcasts all in one place. If you're interested in any of that, go check out selfdefenseradio.net. So let's take this off, and we're going to try to get him through here. I don't know if he can make it. We did this show in honor of him, obviously. Why he hasn't done this show before, I don't know. It takes someone else to do it for him, but we're glad to have him. He's a little under the weather, just a little bit, but we're glad to have him. It's Mike from currently Budget Guns and Gear Reviews. What's up, Mike?
My temperature, at least the last time I checked it. I'm sick. I am so sick, but I'm here. It was a case of either lay around in my bed and be bored or sit here and talk to you guys. So I decided I can I'm healthy enough to sit here anyhow.
I hear you.
Even though
we're glad to have you.
Even though my pulse ox is at 94 right now. So
it was better than it was 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Maybe the Tylenol I took at 6 is finally starting to do something for me. I don't know.
Yeah, well, like I said, we're glad that you're here. If you need to bolt, go. Don't even worry about it. Just go. We'll understand why. But yeah, glad you're here. Hope you feel better, brother. The quasi co-host of this fiasco from the great state of Texas, my home state. The tactical virus. Maybe I shouldn't be joking about viruses right now, should I? Sorry, Budget. The tactical leprechaun himself. What's up, Clove?
Yo, not a whole lot.
No?
Nothing really new.
Okay. All right. Before we get going, I want to say a couple of quick shout outs to the pre-show super chats. Mandatory care. This is for the algorithms mostly. Keep fighting. Appreciate you, brother. $2 super chat. And Lucy out there, Ricardo Carmona, $5 super chat. Thanks, brother. From Victoria, Texas. Another Texan out there.
You got to say it right.
Lucy. Sorry. Lucy. For those of you that might be new to the channel, new to the show, we are not asking for super chats by any means. They're all appreciated. The super chats from these shows go directly towards sending care packages to our troops overseas. So if you're not aware of that, thank you so much for donating, because that's going to send a care package overseas to our men and women downrange. So yeah, we do have some newer names out there. Jacob Ayers, this is Love the Crayons. Emil Marines, damn straight. That actually came from a viewer. I love it. So that's part of the set from now on. I love it. I've always told people, if you're gonna use the crayon thing in the Marine, get creative with it. And I showed up, and this thing actually plays music. So yeah, they got creative with it. So I love it. I love it. Lucy, that's right, Lucy. Gonna change my name to Worn Out Glock is what Stephen Elder says out there. That's pretty funny. Worn Out Glock. I've never heard of a worn out Glock. I've never heard of a Glock that is just worn out. What about
Dude,
you?
I've seen Gen 1s. I actually own Gen 2s with no telling how many thousands of rounds through them, and I've shot Gen 1s that still run like a champ. Yeah. It's crazy.
It is kind of crazy, and people bash on Glock, and we're not saying they're the greatest guns in the world, but here's the thing: they run, and they run under almost anything you can put through them, and unless you try to do something to make it not run, it's going to run. So yeah, play the music goes for the new people. Oh, well, the crayons. All right, let's do that real quick. So crayons, right? Not a big deal. Kind of heavy for a crayon box. And I realized there's a speaker and all that. So push that and it plays taps. Marine Corps hymn. That is some music that used to be on some of my videos. Still is on some of my videos. Semper Fidelis. Problem is, I don't know how to stop it, so I'm gonna let it play out. You push it, it just starts over. So we got some background music. Yeah, so it's right back there. Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. I love it, and that's always going to be a part of the set. So yeah, it's pretty cool stuff. Let's see here. Let's go through the room real quick. Like I said, there are some new people out there. If you're out there and you're new, go ahead and let us know where you're from. We'll give you a shout out. Welcome to the dark side. Hey, we cannot promise to make you any smarter. We just hope not to make you any dumber. That's all we can. That's all we can guarantee is try. There you go. Let's see here. Ricardo, I said Ricardo's out there. FNH is out there. Texas Bullets out there. G was out there. Artac and Daughters. Stephen Elder. 223 DMR. Them KJs is out there. Snob is out there. I don't know why Snob's not in here, but okay. Lucius Maximus, keep your head on a swivel. Damn straight. Southpaw's out there. Rod and Shelly Gates with the gun cleaners. What's up, homies? G23's out there. I think mandatory carries. Mandatory carries obviously out there. Let's see here. Keith Gregory's out there. He's not bad for a squid. He's all right, I guess. Jacob Bears is Love the Crayons. Yeah. Rich White, the 1% is out there. 1% is out there. JJ's out there. I haven't seen JJ in a while. Good to see you, my friend. Fierce Mouse. And you see, here's the thing, man. How do we know that you're really fierce? That could just be, I want to know how we can really know that you're fierce.
So, yeah, him and Danger Mouse may not get along too well.
And what about Mighty Mouse? I mean, you got to throw this three-headed monster in there. Who's going to win that?
It's true.
And,
wow.
And does Mickey like any of them? I mean, does anyone get along with Mickey anymore? I don't know. Man. He said, thank you for your service. The New World Order. I appreciate it. You're welcome. It's my honor to serve. So yeah, appreciate you. Let's see here. Del Rey. What's up, Del Rey? Del Rey Dan. Good dude right there. Dino Rosso near Detroit. Man, I'm sure I probably butchered that name. Dino Rosso. You know what? I'm sorry. I'm going to call you Dino. If you have a problem, let me know what you mean to call you. But I'm going to call you Dino, and welcome to the dark side, my man. Vor is it rock? Love that. Let's see here. So Rich says that Mickey's a beta male, not the alpha. I don't know. That's what do you guys think? Is Mickey the beta? I think Minnie might be the alpha in that relationship. I think he might be right with that. Minnie might be the alpha. I don't know. WP's out there. All right. So I'm sorry if I miss anybody. Like I said, if you're out there, go ahead and send us where you're from, and we'll try to get you a shout out. If you have any questions, like I said, make sure you tag myself or Clover or Budget, and we'll try to get to those questions if they're relevant to the conversation. If we want to go down some rabbit holes, we certainly can. We always seem to do that. And but like I said, if you want to call into the show, we will take live phone calls. So, yeah, got texting, live phone calls, whatever. Jacob says Bugs is better than Mickey. I agree. I actually like Bugs Bunny more than Mickey. That's just me. And it is what it is. But yeah. So we're going to talk about budget. And the title says budget guns getting a bad rap, but it doesn't have to be necessarily guns. The word budget itself seems to get a bad rap in our industry / community and all of that. So it's one of those things to where people need to understand. We say this all the time, and I know Mike's here, and he can obviously attest to this. But we always talk about this, that budget means something different to everyone. Obviously Donald Trump Jr.'s budget gun is going to be a hell of a lot different than our budget gun. But budget means everything different to everybody else. But the word budget itself, it's been thrown into it's cheap. It doesn't work. It's not worth your time, not worth your money, and all of that. And I think that's I don't agree with that. I think there are a lot of price friendly pieces of gear in our community that are well worth the time and effort to try them out and all that. But we're gonna talk a little down that rabbit hole. Before we go, I do want to bring Mike in. I want to try to keep him talking. So maybe he'll start feeling better if he's talking. Make him sweat a little bit with these questions, these hard questions I want to throw. Yeah. But this kind of started a couple weeks ago. You and I were on the phone. You were camping out with your friends. We were on the phone for a while talking about a possible shift in name for the channel and all that. And one of the reasons is because you've heard from some industry people that having the word budget in your channel name might be a hindrance because they might take offense to that. So that's kind of where it started. And then it ended up yesterday with Clover. High Point came up in the chat. And there were some people saying High Point's this, High Point's that. And I was like, you know what? Just because it's low price doesn't mean some of these items are bad. But I wanted to bring you in first and kind of tell us your experience with the word budget, since it's literally in your channel name and branding and all of that, where you have seen over the last few years the name budget. Like you said, it might, in certain circumstances, kind of cause some issues.
Well, I've had viewers leave comments when I'm reviewing a more expensive gun with, well, that's not budget. That costs more than this, that, and the other, and that's not a budget gun. And I've had brands say that we are not now, we never have been, and we never will be a budget gun. So I've heard this from both sides of the equation. Now, to me, the whole budget philosophy isn't necessarily, budget does not equal cheap. Budget means that the value meets or exceeds the cost, meets or exceeds the price you pay. Is it worth the money that you're paying for it? To me, that's the proposition. Because as you said, my budget might be different from your budget, might be different from, the dude down the street's budget.
Yep, that's right. That's an interesting, because we all talk this all the time, and everyone talks about this, the word budget. I don't know, is budget like the wrong term that we should be using? Like if we're talking a cost effective, a good value product, not a budget gun, maybe a good value gun, cost effective gun. But the word budget, for some reason, has automatically, recently that I've seen a lot, is just trying to turn into piece of junk. So yeah, it was interesting. So where do you stand right now? Are you still contemplating on the name change, or?
Yeah, I'm still contemplating it. I'm not decided 100% either way, because on the one hand, possibly having the word budget in my name is going to hold back the growth of the channel, both from the viewer aspect and more specifically from the brand aspect, because they may not wish to have their products associated with the word budget. On the other hand, while at Tactical Response, I was talking with one of the students there who happens to be in marketing, and his thought was that I don't necessarily have to rebrand, but just throw in a tagline that would explain it more, explain what I mean by that budget philosophy. So I'm kind of torn with which way to take it. Have not made a decision yet.
Well, it's your channel and yourself. You'll be fine either way you go. It just really depends on, like you said, the branding is really kind of what I think what you got to look at and all that. Fierce Mouse says AR-15, $1,000 or less. I thought that was the consensus, though a $400 AR sits next to me now. I think if you would have asked the majority of people 2 years ago what a budget AR, it probably is anything under 500. Right now, I think that number is 1,000, because that $500 AR is $1,000 right now. So you also have to remember, when we're talking budget, we're talking about the times. Right now, we would have sit there and said, I would never buy that Tula ammo. It's just cheap crap stuff. Right now, I would take Tula if it was a good price. So, you know what I'm saying? I mean, we got to talk about the times and all of that stuff. So, Clover, I want to bring you in, and I know that you've had discussions. Well, obviously we've had discussions, but the word budget and cost effective or whatever, do you think that that is more, when we hear about a negative connotation, do you think that's more on the consumer side or the industry side that hates that word budget, or both?
I don't know that either one hates it. I think what the problem is we've got folks that are way too sensitive. Either they're questioning their choice in firearms, and so it's hurt their feelings when they hear a certain word, whatever it might be. Or maybe they know their product is somewhat inferior, so it's hurt their feelings when they hear a certain word, and it's all subjective, and they've applied that label or tag to whatever it might be. And so what I think is it more so it just opens up it opens up a line of bad communication, I think, is what happens. And I agree with what Budget said about maybe a tagline, maybe try to explain something. But even then, it's not going to work, because people don't read, they don't listen, they don't pay attention. And ultimately, they're going to hang on whatever little bitty word, no matter how long of a soliloquy you give explaining something. They're going to hang on one little word that you said, and that's all they're going to hang on, and they're going to just beat that to death.
Yep. Roll call makes it affordable. Now, that's a word that I think probably, because once again, the word affordable means something different to everybody.
Yep.
Okay. But I think affordable may sound better than budget. I don't know. I like the word budget, but I also don't think it in a negative connotation. I understand what my beliefs of what budget is. And if I see a budget AR or budget, that's not going to turn me away from going to watch that video or whatever. I'm like, oh, if it's quality,
well,
then, and I can save money on something, then,
budget.
And sometimes they're talking about Canix real quick. Yeah. Canix and SARS. Okay. I own Canix and SARS, and I've publicly numerous times will tell you that my personal belief that for the money versus value, that a Canik handgun, the TP9 series, whichever model you get, is the best handgun in the world for the value and price. That's just my opinion. You guys might think, but we're talking about a gun that you can only get for about $300 to $350. Now, right now, maybe not, but $300 to $350. And that thing is going to have one of the best stock triggers ever. It is going to run any kind of ammo you want. It can do anything. The SAR is the same way. I've got almost 10,000 rounds through my SAR 9, and it'll eat anything. So I have zero problems with that. Now, Warsaw's talking about he wouldn't buy anything from Turkey. First of all, I'm not buying them direct from Canic or from SAR, so my money's going to the gun shop, not to Turkey. Just saying. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead, Clover. You were saying something.
I was just gonna say, well, you talk about affordable, you talk about budget, and then my mind immediately goes to the question of in what context? What are you using this for, right? So what's the affordable option for X, Y, and Z? So an affordable option to get into a lever rifle is much different than an affordable option to get into a bolt rifle. Affordable option for a pump shotgun,
a 1,000-yard bolt rifle is much different than a regular
normal hunting bolt rifle, right? Pump shotgun different than this is sporting clays use. $500, $600, $700, $800. That's budget range. That's almost bottom of the barrel when you're talking about sporting clays, for example. I mean, you can get up into easily $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 on an over-under shotgun.
Oh yeah. Faux shizzle. Man, I got behind. Okay. So Del Rey says I bought an IWI Zion 15 and the other guy at the store told me that it was a budget rifle and I should buy a Daniel Defense instead. But I listened to you guys, bought 2 guns instead of 1 Daniel Defense. So here's the thing. Is the Daniel Defense going to be a better rifle for you than the IWI? I don't know. It may not be. What are you going to use it for? Now, are the components possibly a little bit better stock in the Daniel Defense? Sure. But guess what? You can take that Zion and upgrade parts internally and have whatever you want in there down the road. You were able to get 2 firearms for the price of 1. So for me, if you're happy with those 2 firearms that you got and they are both going to serve a purpose for you, then that dude at the gun shop can stuff it. That's just me. Let's see here. Have a little conversations going back and forth.
It's hard to talk a lot of smack about anything IWI. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And once again, is Daniel Defense's reputation? I think you're paying high dollar for Daniel Defense because of their reputation and name recognition. I promise you that will run with the Daniel Defense all day long. It also has to do with whoever's.
It's the same as buying a Harley Davidson simply because it's a Harley Davidson.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, you're getting into some things with Harley Davidson, though. When you get into motorcycles, you need to be real careful because
I don't know shoot motorcycles, so it's all good.
But I would agree with you. About the only perk to a Harley Davidson is the name, and the luster and the clout behind it.
Yeah. Ironically, 30, 40 years ago, that was not the case. It did not have a good reputation within the motorcycle industry.
Now we have to, again, I go back to what's the context? What's it being used for? How's it going to be used, right? That's directly applicable to budget and affordable because, okay, the Daniel Defense, maybe, I don't know. I mean, I've never torture tested the 2 side by side, right? One of these days, maybe they both send me one and they send me 100,000 rounds of ammunition and I can do that. But I've never done that. Let's assume that it's a situation where you're contracted or something like that, and you've got to take something into the sandbox, right?
Yep.
At that point, maybe it makes a difference. Are you shooting competition? At that point, maybe it makes a difference. Are you doing something specific? And at that point, it could make a difference. But outside of that, it's like, it doesn't. I mean, I could stand at 10, 15, 25 yards all day long and put 380 out of my high point into a coffee cup size group.
Yep.
It gets it done.
Sean out there says, I'm a firm believer in buying once and crying once. This doesn't mean you have to go the most expensive. It just means buy the one you really want. Do the research and see what's going to be best for you. That's exactly the right thought process right there. Don't let anyone, including myself, Budget or Clover, or any of the people on YouTube that are going to help you buy a firearm, especially anyone out there that you don't really know, don't let anyone talk you out of something that you want. If you've wanted to go and get a Smith & Wesson M&P Shield for 2 years, you've been saving up your money, and then someone says, you don't want the Shield, you want the SIG P365. No, I've been wanting the Shield for 2 years. Don't let that guy talk you out of it. If that's what you want, you've done your due diligence, you've looked at all the stats, you looked at what you want, that's what you want, then don't let anyone tell you or talk you out of that, because that's your gun. You're the one that has to be happy. You're the one that is going to have to utilize that firearm for defending yourself, your family, or whatever. Once again, like Clover says, whatever the application is, you're the one that has to be using that and happy with it. So don't let anyone talk you out of something. As long as you've done your due diligence, your own prep work and all that, it's what it is.
Well, there's another component to that application. And that's knowing what that firearm is. I could go buy the biggest piece of junk firearm maybe potentially on the planet. But if I buy that firearm knowing it's the biggest piece of junk firearm on the planet, and for whatever application, my application may be I'm collecting junky firearms, right?
That's right.
Well, then that's on me. I know exactly. So I get the buy once, cry once mentality, but sometimes that's applied to people that they're not going to cry once because they know ahead of time what they're getting. So when it breaks, they're like, well, I expected this because I knew it was a piece of crap, or it had these issues, or whatever the case may be when I bought it.
Keith says you get what you pay for. I don't believe so. I don't believe so. There are a lot of
sometimes you get more than what you pay for.
That's right. And sometimes you get a hell of a lot less than what you paid for.
Yep.
And it's not just guns. We're talking anything in life. I don't believe in it. You get what you pay for. I believe that if you buy something that is less than half of something that's identical and it doesn't work out, well, maybe you should look at something. But we're not talking about that when it comes to firearms, because firearms aren't identical. Okay. People are talking right now about the Dagger, which is basically a 3rd gen Glock 19. Okay. Let's be real about it. For half the price. What's going to happen in a month or now when everyone starts getting their daggers and they don't work? What's it going to? What are they going to say? You know, it'd be interesting to hear what they say about that. Will it sit there and say, now you guys understand, know that maybe Glock has something? You can't just replicate it, or is, whatever happened. But it doesn't always work. Or does the Dagger completely outperform a Glock 19? And now you paid half the money and you've got this wonderful firearm that should be $750. You got it for $300. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
Yeah, that was exactly the point I was going to make. It could be the other way. Just we're not going to know for a few more months yet until they've been out in the wild for a bit.
Yep.
I can't ever find them in stock. Damn it! Every time I go, they're nothing. They're out of stock in 2 minutes.
You're not
I'd like
going
to get my hands on one.
Probably October, getting ready for the Christmas season. I bet you'll start finding some in October, but not until then, man. Not until then. Now, Stephen Elder says, which channel are you going to watch? Budget guns and gear or high quality guns and gear?
I'm going to watch a bunch of it, but that's me.
Well, here's the thing. Why can't this is the exact question that I'm trying to pose. Why can't budget still mean high quality?
And hence you see the impetus behind me thinking about rebranding.
No, I hear you.
It's that right there.
Yeah. No, I get it, but I think that is where we are right now. Is the word budget means low quality. It doesn't mean low quality. It just means maybe cost effective, less expensive, more affordable, however you want to say it.
But trying to put that into a channel name just does not have the ring to it. It doesn't sing to.
As a channel name, I get the conundrum. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. but yeah, that's really where it comes down to me is damn, like budget has turned into low quality.
Yeah.
I promise you, I'll take my Canik TP9 SF Elite and put it up against an HK VP9, which is at least twice the price, maybe almost closer to 3 times the price, any day of the week. So it's one of those. I don't know if Clover is back yet. I think he's back yet. So Clover, this, and I'm not ragging on Steven at all, but Steven brings up the exact point. He said, which channel you're going to watch, budget guns and gear or high quality guns and gear? And my question is why can't budget still mean high quality? But that's exactly what we're talking about right now. Go ahead.
I absolutely can. Why does a channel name have to do? Here's my thing. What does a channel name have to do with anything anyway? You look at their videos, and once you watch a few, you kind of get an idea of what they're into and what they do, right? What they're about.
Love it, G-Webs. Love it.
Right here, yeah. From Webster, adjective, suitable for someone who is following a plan for coordinating resources and expenditures.
No, what do you put down there next?
Oh, I didn't see. I haven't gotten there. I see. I'm a little slow, man. I'm not very smart. I have to read slow.
It says quality gear doesn't need to break the bank. I might steal that,
That's right.
G.
That's right. That might be a new tagline.
Yeah, budget guns and gear reviews. Quality gear doesn't need to break the bank. You know what, G? I'm probably going to steal that, brother.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep, I like that. That actually has a nice flow to it. I really do. Let's see here. All right. Do I consider, this is from Patriot, Simplify brother, do I consider a police trade-in a budget pistol? Sure. But I don't look at budget as a bad meaning. I think that you can get a police trade-in Glock 17 and you can get it for $250. A Glock 17 for $250 is a pretty damn good deal, in my opinion. Now, obviously, you got to make sure that go through that gun, make sure you might have to replace the spring or the guide rod a little bit here and there, or something, a trigger or firing pin. But that's going to happen regardless of what gun you have after X amount of rounds.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I was once again asking, and not ragging on Patriot, but I think he's asking using budget in a negative sense. Yes, I think a police trade-in is a budget pistol, but I don't look at budget as a negative way. So go ahead, Clover. I heard you sighing over there. I must have said something that pissed off.
No, it's just I don't like it when budget and affordable and all of these terms start getting applied to used firearms, because you can find a deal on a used firearm, and then you can have jacked up inflated prices on a used firearm, right? It's just odds are you're gonna find a cheaper one on the used market than the new market, right? So what might not be budget before would become budget if you applied that, but then is it really budget if it's used?
Depends on how used it is. If it's only been shot 20 times and you're getting for $250, that's a much better deal than some of this $250 been shot 10,000 times.
Right, but it's because it's used. You get what I'm saying? Because it's used, it's very fluid. Yeah.
Yes. Sometimes guns are better after 1,000 rounds.
Yeah.
A lot of times guns are better than after 1,000 rounds.
Especially right now, break-in periods and not having ammo, you're almost better off buying one that's already been broke in and save a little money. Plus save ammo.
Now, I don't know the answer to this. I have not heard this. Clover, I never asked Cody this because I've never even heard this, but Jacob says, doesn't Canik manufacture the pistols? I've been to Walther's factory. It's only a few hours from here. And not one time that I was at their factory, I literally saw every inch of that factory. Did I hear or see Canik anywhere? So I don't think so. Unless this has happened recently. Do you know anything about it, either of you?
No. I'm going to say no on that. No.
Right.
It's the same way as it would be saying that Gerson on the Regard. Don't they make that on Beretta machinery? No.
Well,
No.
technically,
They make it on machinery. They make it on machinery that is set to some type of Beretta spec, sure.
yeah, but
But
not
here's
actual
the thing,
Beretta machinery.
right?
Yeah.
But not actual Beretta machinery. Now,
Yeah.
back in the day when Taurus was bought out by, Beretta was bought out by Taurus, Beretta basically gave them the factory, abandoned the factory. So for a short period of time, anyway, until said machinery wore out and they had to replace it with more modern stuff, Taurus stuff was built on Beretta machinery at that point. But again, it's like just because a company owns a certain type of machine that's tooled for a certain pistol doesn't mean somebody else can't have the exact same piece of equipment. It doesn't mean that that equipment belongs to another company. You know what I mean?
Right. I'm reading through some of these.
A lot of the Turkish stuff, basically, it comes out of, about 3 different plants.
3 factories. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
75% of the budget shotguns in the world are made in Turkey, guys. I don't know if you realize that or not. May not have a Turkish brand name on there, but that factory's spitting out a shit ton of shotguns. I promise you.
And
or Russia or Finland.
And those factories are operating at the same standards or exceeding the standards that ours are. The Turks know how to make guns.
Oh, the SAR facility, for example, Sarlasmos facility, is like major. There's no U.S. manufacturer setup that it holds a candle to how modernized and awesome the Sarlasmos facility is. It is insane. The companies, American companies, wish they had a manufacturing facility like that. It's amazing.
Yep.
People seem to think it's just some people over there with rocks and hammers and chisels and rudimentary tools doing stuff, and it's like, no, it ain't like that.
I mean, we're not talking about some mountain pass in Pakistan making guns here. It's a first world nation.
Yeah, it is. But I bet you that guy in Pakistan can probably scrape together, put parts in, and manufacture
he probably could.
An AK for you pretty damn easily. Let's see here. Sean out there says LMT, CAC, Centurion, BCM, Colt, Canada are my personal top 5. There's a lot of them out there that are you're going to get. I believe there are a lot of companies that you're going to get more than what you pay for. Now, are you going to buy a High Point and get an HK out of it? No. Let's be real. But for $150, which the High Point C9 typically go for $150, you're going to get more value than what you paid for a High Point. Is it ugly? Yep. Is it bulky? Yep. Is it heavy?
Debatable,
but it's on the heavier side, let's say,
compared to other full-sized firearms.
Correct.
It's debatable compared to a lot of the subcompacts and stuff out there today. Yeah, it's heavy.
But I own, between pistols and carbines, I own 3. Never had a problem with any of them. I promise you that if for some reason the only gun that I had access to was a High Point handgun, and I had to stop a threat, I would have 0 problems expecting that gun to perform. Is it going to be a precision competition race gun? No. Will it stop a threat? Damn straight it will. Hell yeah.
There've been lots of people killed with the things.
Guarantee that. So, that's kind of where I wanted to kind of transition is there are a lot of people when you bring up certain firearms, we can say whatever, but let's use firearms as the example, whether it's a High Point or whatever, a Sky, a Taurus, whatever it may be. Oh shit! I'm sorry, Clover. Before I transition, go ahead and make your great point. My bad.
So G made a good point, and then I think he made a bad point.
Okay.
because he was talking about all the oh man, what did we say? I'm trying to find it. So he was talking about the differences in
the fake and equal.
he said just no, he was talking about just because they look the same, right?
Oh, okay, yeah, that one's right up here. Yeah, that was good.
He's absolutely right with that. Just because two look the same, whether it's a CZ-ish clone or it's 92 clone or 1911 or whatever it might be, doesn't mean the tolerances are going to be the same. Doesn't mean the metallurgy is going to be the same. Certainly doesn't mean that the quality control is going to be the same. But then he goes down below to say that all the Turkish stuff is junk. Yep. And I got to tell you that the metallurgy, the tolerances on a Gerson, which is built in Turkey, compared to the Taurus, compared to the Beretta, is much closer, if honestly not better than the Beretta, than it is the Taurus. So while that may hold true on some levels, I don't think that can be applied across the board.
Yep. No, there's no absolutes. There's no way you can make an absolute saying that budget guns or Turkish guns or whatever are this. No way. So transitioning into the next section that really is going to be an interesting conversation, I believe, is when we hear people bashing on the high points, the skies, the Tauruses, even going as far as bashing Glock because they're just pieces of plastic crap that are ugly and they had the wrong grip angle and all that and the other. To me, I've always wondered, and I'm not trying to point out anyone in the chat, but it is just in generalities, but I wonder, like the guy that says, I would never buy a high point, that is the biggest piece of junk ever. Have you ever shot one? Do you own one? Or are you just listening to everyone else say that high point is crap and you're jumping on that bandwagon? For those out there saying that Glock is terrible, the triggers are terrible on Glock. Have you ever
learned how to run it?
Glock? I mean, have you really, truly, not just gone to the range and put a mag through one, have you really, truly run a Glock? And second of all, no offense, but are you the guy that has owned one or two firearms in your life that you've never shot a really good trigger? Do you know what a really good stock trigger is? That's where I'm going with this, because I think a lot of people out there that are talking noise out there, not saying anyone out here, but just in general, in our community, online and in forums and all that, they'll sit there and say and try to shame someone because they get this or looking and getting this. What experience do they have with it? Or are they just listening to every other talking head saying, well, I don't like this gun, so, well, if they don't like it, then I'm not going to like it, so I'm going to bash this person for thinking about doing that. And that's what drives me crazy. Clover, do you want to come in with something?
Well, we had that conversation privately, I think.
Yeah, we did.
A little bit. I'm real quick if somebody throws something out to go, I don't like that. But, that doesn't mean it's a bad gun. Doesn't mean it's a bad firearm. Doesn't mean there's anything bad about it. And then I'm real quick to, like, I've never owned a Sky, for example, but right. I've seen tons. I've got plenty of experience shooting them. I've seen tons and know, friends that have had them and everything else, and they have had all kinds of trouble. So I haven't had those issues myself. The thing about a trigger, and that's one of the first things people go to, right, is triggers. And so here's a dirty secret that unless you go really high end, triggers typically have a break-in period. Mm-hmm. There are tool marks. There are little minor issues. My Walther PPQ, one of the best triggers on anything that I've got, is my Walther PPQ for the first probably 100 rounds or so. It had a little bit of grit in the travel, just a little bit. That I was able to tell because I'm used to really nice, more or less, precision competition triggers. So I could feel that grit. Now, like I said, after about 100 rounds or so, it was gone. So had a little bit of shaving in there, had a little bit of a burr. It was something with the machining process, possibly, that, finally worn through and worn off and smoothed out.
Yeah. Keith Usher, he likes Glocks, I think, but he says the sights on a Glock are bad.
See, I love them. I love the
You
cup
can
and
change those out, you know.
Yeah.
You can change those.
Can you? Here's my question: whether you like the looks of them or not, I do like the sight picture of a Glock. That's just me.
I do too.
But if you don't, does that make the gun a bad gun? Can you still utilize and make that gun do what it's supposed to do? Is it going to go bang with bad sights? Yeah, you can change those out, but that doesn't make it a bad gun. It just makes you might not like that sight picture.
As a matter of fact, I just changed out the sights on both my Glocks the other day because I wanted some new sights, so I put them on.
So you can't always change those out. We're talking in terms of kind of in self-defense and other things, but I've got an issue when it comes to single action revolvers, like true, Colt single action Army clones with the receiver groove and the big front blade.
Yeah.
I have always had an issue with that sighting system. Always had an issue. Now, does that mean they're not fun on the range? Absolutely not. Right. But I would probably never be good at cowboy action shooting sports because of it.
This Glock 19 right here has the XS big dots fiber optic sights. Love them. Did it take a while getting used to dotting the eye and all of that? Yeah. It's going to take a little bit, but they're wonderful. Clover, you've got a question out here from Chris. Do you see that?
I didn't do it.
No, he said someone told him to sell his pump action because it blew up with factory ammo. Some reason I don't believe it.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about that?
The Hatsan shotguns are not the greatest. When you get into quality control and some stuff that G-Webs was pointing out earlier with some of the Turkish stuff, some of the stuff coming out of Turkey for sure. The Hatsans are not the greatest.
All turkey stuff's great, but we sure not to say that all turkey stuff's bad either.
An indicator that is the case whenever you're looking at stuff that's made overseas and imported. Right. And something you can a lot of times go by is look at who that importer for that particular thing is, that particular model is. If that importer has consistently been the same importer for years and or decades, then it's a pretty doggone reliable thing, or that importer wouldn't continue to bring them in. Right. But if the importers change every few years or something like that, which they have with Hatsan, then that's an indication that there may be some truth to the quality control and the problems. Now, should that shotgun, here's the question, should that shotgun give any trouble with factory ammunition? No, it should not. Absolutely should not. I venture to guess, because a lot of people will do this. They want read. This was an issue that come up in maybe ARGG's chat or something the other night. But there are some shotguns that the manufacturer says, we deal with the difference in packaging and what the website says as far as specs, right? We've had that issue, Ghost, you and I both.
Yep, absolutely.
There are some shotguns out there, especially when you're talking the foreign made stuff, that the website will say when it's a shotgun, it'll handle 3.5 inch. But if you buy one, it says it'll only handle 3 inch.
Or 2 3/4 or whatever. Yeah.
Or whatever. Yeah. It says it's actually stamped that it'll take something less than what the website says or whatever. And then so somebody throws a 3.5 inch in something that can only take a 3 inch.
Bad things happen.
And there you go.
Yep. Jacob out there says the PPQ is the GOAT out of the box striker fire triggers. Ghost wish they would keep making the PPQ instead of the PDP. I agree with you. As far as my experience in life, I haven't shot near the number of guns that most people have. I've shot a good amount of guns. Of the guns that I've shot, and most of the guns that I like to shoot are striker fired polymer guns. There is no question that the Walther PPQ trigger is the best stock trigger that I've ever shot. Is it the best ever? I think it is. There's many triggers out there that I haven't shot, but I have not found one yet. The only one that comes close is the Canik TP9, but I still give the Walther a slight edge. It is, in my opinion, the best stock trigger out there. Now, that's one of the reasons why I'm not saying I'll never own a PDP. I'm not saying that. I'm a Walther fan. But that's why I'm not out there trying to find one and really just talk about the PDP, because I love my PPQ. And I don't see how they're going to improve for what I use it for what I need it for, what I would appreciate it for. I don't see how the PDP is going to be able to improve over the PPQ. That's my opinion. Clover, Mike, your opinions on the Walther triggers and PDP versus PPQ?
I have no experience with them, so I have no opinion.
There you go.
I'll go PPQ over PDP. I've shot both, and I like the PPQ better. Would the PDP grow on me over time or whatever? Yeah, possibly, maybe.
I'm not saying it's a bad gun,
maybe.
But
no, it's absolutely not. It's very, very close to the PPQ. Let's put that out on the table for sure, right? What they did is they basically took the PPQ and they just tweaked a few little things, and there you got the PDP. But he caveated, which is really great, because he said best out of the box trigger on the striker fire.
Correct.
And I wouldn't disagree with that, at least not much. Nothing comes to mind to argue against that.
Right.
But he did say striker, because you go hammer, and that's a whole different world. With
you start getting the 1911 games, the 1911
triggers,
the Feezies, absolutely, whole different ball game. No, I agree. Let's see here. 2A Dave says, hands down, my best trigger is a Beretta 92, the LTT trigger bar, 12-pound hammer string. After that, it's just Kimber 1911. I've heard Kimber 1911 triggers are really, really great, but I've heard most, in generality, the design allows most 1911 triggers to be really, really good. That being said, everyone knows I love a 92. I have yet to find a trigger in the 92 that I love. Does that make sense? I have not tried the trigger bar and all of that, the LTT trigger bar. That being said, I love the 92, but I have never been a fan of triggers, whether aftermarket or stock and all that. I just like the firearm.
We need to set up next Tulsa trip or something. We need to set up range day, and I need to bring you this Gerson. Seriously.
Yeah. Like I said, I have not tried many aftermarket that I know of, but I've shot a bunch of 92s that aren't mine. I've never held a 92 and shot one and say, damn, that trigger is awesome. Never done it, but I love the gun. It's probably my favorite handgun ever. But I've never shot a 92 and get, man, that feels awesome.
I've had them that were good, where it's like, hey, that's not bad. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I've never sit there and say, man, what trigger is that?
I would agree with that. Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
It's what it is. And I love the 92. So most people that know me know that. Let's see here.
Well, the trigger only has to be, let's be honest about it, right? The trigger tech, let's just say, over the last couple of decades has drastically improved. And there were people shooting all types of competitions and everything else for 100 years, right? So the trigger is only part of the equation, the overall equation.
Manny Oakley today,
right? And not only is the trigger itself only part of the equation, but we've had this conversation, you and I, Ghost, before, and a lot of people don't realize this. You know where I'm going with this, so you might have to help me out. But the parts of a trigger pull, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've got the take up, you've got creep, you've got a wall, you've got a break, you've got a wait, you've got a stop, you've got a reset, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so one trigger can excel in one of those areas, but be really crappy in the other ones. In other words, it's got massive pre-travel, but then everything else is perfect. Well, that may not, for a particular person, they may not see that as good of a trigger as, let's say, one that has, not quite so much, that has long travel like that, but then it's got a good, let's say, reset. and they're like,
Yeah.
"Wow, I really like
And
that."
the short, crisp break on the wall. I mean, really
Right.
crisp. I mean, short,
Right.
but that travel
But
is,
a lot of people don't
absolutely.
put enough thought into. They say, "Oh, it's got a good trigger," and they don't put enough thought into the mechanics of what's going on with the trigger and the different parts of that trigger pull.
Well, more importantly, is their criteria for a good trigger might be a really short reset,
That's true.
or their
Yes.
criteria for
Yes.
a good trigger is XYZ.
The weight.
And it might be yours.
Most people default to the weight. I don't. But
I don't either.
most people default to the weight. And that's honestly the least
say
important.
this. I will say this, that guns that typically have heavier trigger weights, pull weights,
Mhm.
I am not a fan of typically. Okay. But I'm not going to sit there and say that I like this because it's a 5 pound and I hate that one because it's a 6.5 pound. What I will say is if you've got a little pocket carry 380 that's got a 13-pound trigger pull, I don't like that. I promise you. But I mean, you know what I'm saying is, I mean, on certain guns, but yeah, there are times I favor lighter trigger pulls, but I've pulled some 10-pound triggers that feel pretty damn good.
Once you're used to them, right?
Double action, single action, you're going to have that 9-10 pound trigger pull, and it goes down to 2.5 pound or whatever.
Well, and on hammer fire double action, right? Whether
That's
you're
right.
talking a double action revolver, whether you're talking a semi-auto, if you're used to that, you're aware of what it is, then you can stage, right? So you bring it up, you get all the creep, you get all of your and you stop your finger, right?
Yep.
Right at the point where it's fixing to break, you get back on target and then you break. It's just learning how to shoot with that type of a trigger mechanism. But some people like that. They like this, especially with double action revolvers.
Yeah.
They shoot from a stage. That's just how they do it.
Yeah. And I'll tell you this, I know people that might be newer to firearms that if they like a gun, and some they're new to firearms, they're new to carrying or whatever, they like a safety, a thumb safety, which first of all, why are people out there dogging guns with thumb safeties? If you don't like a thumb safety, then don't freaking use it.
Take it apart, remove it if you want to.
Yeah, good Lord. That gun sucks. It's got a thumb safety. Does the gun suck or you don't want to use a thumb safety? Anyways, whole nother rant. Sorry. But
even more to the point, you don't want to take the time to learn to use it. You don't want to train with it. It's all a training issue.
But I know friends of mine that are new in the last year to firearms, wives are buying their first firearm, and they want that thumb safety. Well, they can't find one that has a thumb safety out of stock or whatever. I said, well, this is a good gun. And I said, and they're like, well, I like this because the trigger's heavier. So even though the thumb safety, a heavier trigger to that person actually works because in their mind, I've got to pull that harder and I don't have to worry about it going off, And I said, well, once again, everything has its purpose. Everyone has criteria that they're looking for. And when you start bashing firearms for whatever reason, because they don't fit and they don't align with what your criteria would be, why are you putting your opinion out there to everyone saying, don't buy this? That's a piece of junk because it doesn't fit your criteria. That's just my thing. Go ahead.
Well, another thing plays into it too, and that's the experience you have and with what and with how much stuff, right? As you were saying that about the people that, oh, it sucks, it's got a manual safety, and I'm like, they would lose their freaking minds with the double barrel shotguns I got that go on to safety automatically, right? When you break them and close them back up, the safety automatically goes on. You have to take that thing off every single time, and when you're playing around with it, you forget that. You know what I'm saying? And you'll throw some shells in it, man, and close it and throw it up and go to shoot clays or whatever. And it's like, click. You're like, crap.
The same people that will dog a thumb safety are usually the same people that love guns that have decockers on them. So they're going through that same motion for the decocker anyways. It's the same motion of flipping a thumb safety.
Right.
You know, it's funny to me. People, it's just
but
like
with a decocker, you don't have to deactivate it before you take your shot. Typically, you're going to have that double action.
I understand,
Right.
but a lot of people will go ahead and decock it to get to that single action. Well, for those people that do that, it's taking you just about as much time to do that as it would to flip that safety. So, like I said, there's a lot of things that I just laugh at sometimes.
Decock to go to double action, by the way.
What did I say?
You said single action.
From single action. Did I say two single? What, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Oh, you may have said from. I may have misunderstood.
I don't know. I might have misspoke. I'm not that smart. I haven't had my crazy.
See, I know tons of people. I know law enforcement officers. I know people that just carry EDC, that carry 1911s locked and cocked with a safety on. It's me. It's my hang up. I'm not projecting this on anybody else. You train and whatever you're comfortable with, and you do what you want to do. But having something single action and carrying it around with the safety on with the hammer back, that's a no deal for me personally. I just like
I'm not going to carry in single action if I have it. You know, I'm not this.
I will.
I don't trust myself.
My backpacking gun is a 1911 and 10 millimeter, and I carry it cocked and locked.
Yeah, cocked. Really?
Cocked and locked. Oh yeah. Well, you have to defeat both the passive and the active safety in order for it to fire. I'm not worried about it.
This is true. And in a situation, I would feel much more comfortable in a hiking, backpacking, hunting situation than I would carrying it around in public and getting in and out of vehicles and just all the movements that you've got right throughout the day.
I carry it right here, strapped to my back.
Oh, that makes a big difference too.
Absolutely. Rich out there says, out of all the polymer striker fires, the best is the CZ P10C for stock trigger. I've got the P10. I got the sub, but it's the same trigger P10. It's good. It's good. For me, it comes in a third. It's not better than the Canic or the Walther PPQ, in my opinion. It's good, but it's not as good as those two. Once again, we have different criteria. The size of hand, size of fingers are all going to play a role as to how something feels to someone. And we were talking about this. Clover and I were talking on the phone earlier about some stuff. And, you know, I'm out there saying, I'm out there and I'll tell everybody, I'm not a fan of SIG or CZ. Not because I don't think that they're great guns. For the most part, SIGs and CZs don't fit my hand well. They don't feel good to me. So when I sit there and say I don't own a CZ, I do own a CZ, but I don't own a hammer-fired steel frame CZ, and I don't own a SIG. It's not because I think that they're crap guns. I think they're great guns. They just don't feel good to me. But I'll sit there and say, oh, I don't own a CZ. I don't own a SIG. What's wrong with SIG? What's wrong with CZ? Nothing's wrong with them. They just don't feel good to me. But once again, I have smaller hands or whatever. Someone's hand size or grip strength or whatever is going to play a role. Everyone has different variables and attributes that are going to go into their decision-making process of what's a good gun or what feels good to them. And that's the whole thing is you can't just blanket that gun sucks because I don't like it. No, it doesn't suck. There are some guns that suck just in general. 2A Dave had to leave and all that. But
you can say that. You can say that. You can say it sucks just because I don't like it. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, you can say that. Sure. I guess you can say it. This gun, I think this gun sucks.
Yeah. That's what I said. I say it all the time. Like somebody
may like it.
Somebody talks about a SDVE or somebody talks about a Sky.
No, that gun does suck.
and I'm like, I don't like them. I don't like them. They'll suck, you know. And then inevitably there somebody comes back. I've had one and I've never had a problem. And I was like, great, keep shooting it. Yeah, to each their own. My opinion is it sucks. Is that based on anything other than a bunch of personal opinion on a lot of things when I say that? No, it's absolutely not. But usually I caveat that after the fact and go, hey, that's my hang up. You know, you do you.
And, and by the way, I challenge and I would love to see if people create content calling me out saying that I think a gun sucks and show me why you think it's a good one. I'm all for it.
Oh, that'd be good.
That's great. Please do that.
Drama.
Please, no. I'm being serious about it, because what that does is now you've got two different opinions, and you've got more content out there about that gun. People are going to have the same thought process that I do. Some people are not. So it is what it is. Lucy out there says, how about the Franklin binary? Is it worth it? I don't think so.
It depends.
It depends on what you're going to be using it for. What application? For me, I don't have a Franklin. I have a Digi-Trigger, and I love that sumbitch. Love it. Would not pay $650 for it. Not because it's not great. It's just, for me, on a normal day-to-day basis, I don't have a reason for a binary trigger.
I have a binary.
Cool? Yeah, they're cool, and they work great. But what am I going to use it for? Go ahead.
I have a Franklin Armory binary in my 1022. They sent it to me to review, and I like it. It's awful damn fun, but I don't really see a practical application for it. I mean, it's a 22. It's going to be ammunition sensitive and fail to fire every once in a while. So, if you want to use it as a way to break contact in a bug out situation to lay down suppressive fire, well and good. But, what's the odds of that actually happening? So if you want it for range toy and having fun, hell yeah, it's worth it. If you want it for a serious go to work weapon, yeah, maybe not.
Maybe. Depends, like you said, depends on what you're going to use it for.
Yep.
Deuce out there says, of course YouTube didn't notify me. Haven't not once ever received a notification for a gun channel, only for video games and other things. Well, first of all, I'm glad you came over. Which you might want to, not just on this channel, but other gun channels that you actually do want to get notifications for. By where it says subscribe, there's a little bell. Click on that bell, and it says, it may say no notifications, some notifications, or all notifications. Click the all notifications, and it should start pushing whatever channel that you want to get all the notifications for. Make sure that you have the all under that bell clicked. That might help. I don't know. I can't speak. I would imagine that there will always be issues, maybe with notifications, whether you're a gun channel or not. But yeah, make sure that notification bell is rung. My God, I'm way behind in the chat. All right, Geisleys are great triggers. There's a hyper fire trigger in that. I've got a CMC trigger in my 9PCC. I like both of them. And you can get both of those between around $100 for a little drop-in trigger. $100 for an aftermarket trigger. Geisley are great, but is Geisley, since it's triple the price, is it triple better?
I'm really liking the PSA 3.5 pound drop-in match trigger.
I keep saying that. That's another one.
I just got one of those for my AR, and it's freaking nice.
Yeah, that's one that I want to try because you were saying that. I have never tried one of theirs, but yeah, once again, because they're economic, does that mean, once again, let me put it this way: if I can get a CMC or PSA or Hyperfire trigger for $100, and you go get a Geisley for $300, honest to God, is that Geisley 3 times a better trigger?
Exactly.
I don't know. That's up to you to decide. I don't think many of them would be.
I mean, if it gives you enough of an edge to, if you're a serious competitor and you make your money competing in 3-gun, then maybe it's worth it. If you're Joe Schmo like me, no.
Yep. Gee, this is way back. It says gun safeties kill you. I've never seen a gun safety been charged with murder. I'm just saying. I've yet to see one, and if they have, they must have really great lawyers, because I've never seen a thumb safety convicted. So I don't know.
Hey, but unloaded firearms kill people all the time.
This is true. Yeah,
we know that. That's a fact, right?
I've got a 7.62 by 39 AR in the corner, and it's been in the corner all day today and hasn't killed a soul.
It's just waiting for the right moment.
Maybe it is. Maybe it's waiting for
opportunity
to it in Russian, and it might just go ballistic. But it's been sitting there all day and hasn't killed Anyone?
I mean, yeah, it's a 7.62 by 39 AR. It's definitely a Russian sleeper agent. Just wait until it's
no doubt.
Wait
It's a double agent. It's a double agent for sure.
So that's the scariest part about smart guns. Wouldn't you agree? What happens if happens if we go to smart guns and the Russians hack the smart guns, right? We're in trouble.
So
no, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
No, I don't either. That's why I was getting ready to say something and I questioned, is this the battle that you want to fight tonight? It's not.
I was being funny. No, moving on.
I know you were. But I was getting ready to just bash the idea. I said, no.
What about budget smart guns? Does that mean they're really pretty dumb?
Don't you fucking do it. Don't you fucking go down this hole.
Does
that mean they're pretty dumb?
Moving on.
Moving on. Okay.
Let's talk about dumb guns here. Dumb guns.
Dumb guns. Hey, every gun that I own is a dumb gun because the owner's dumb. So, talking about, man, I'm so far behind. Robert P says, "What up, y'all? What's up?" That was probably about half an hour ago. I apologize.
I've got some dumb guns apparently because I get comments every now and then. That's dumb. So apparently, I got.
Well, and you also have dumb guns that lose themselves under snow. I mean, that wasn't you. That was the gun. The gun got up, walked outside, and buried itself in snow.
Dude, my Glock 42. No, actually, my Jimenez. My Jimenez is the hide and seek champion.
No, I have not heard this one.
You know the snowstorm we had a couple months ago?
Yeah.
Snowmageddon. His Glock 42 was outside the whole time.
Yeah, it was out on the range.
Still fires, by the way, no problems.
I run out there. I had to get a foot of snow off of it, right? And just knock the snow off of it enough to pick it up and shoot it, honestly. And I thought, okay, well, assuming this fires, I'm going to empty this magazine and all because I'm not going to trust this ammo, right? And
now, see, you should have recorded all that shit.
I didn't think about it till after the fact. It was, unfortunately.
Now ask him about his Jimenez tooth over here.
So the Jimenez is the current hide and seek champion around here.
I don't know where for years.
I don't know where that's at, man. And I miss it. It's sad that I do miss it, but I can't. I'll run across it one day. I'll find it.
I can't say shit.
But how could you miss that Jimenez?
It's a fun little. It's everyone, just tiny. It's
everyone tells you that. Everyone says that Jimenez sucks. How could you be wanting to shoot that gun?
Everyone says those guns suck.
I mean, that's like the budget gun.
Yeah, but it's just so fun. It's so tiny, and it's just something. I mean, 10 yards. It'll shoot 6-inch steel at 10 yards. You can have fun with it.
I would say up until about a year or two ago, the Jimenez was the budget guns of budget guns until the Altor came out.
Yeah, Jimenez. MSRP wise, the Jimenez or the Phoenix Arms probably are the cheapest.
The Altor is like $99.
Yeah, the Jimenez.
Cheaper than that?
My Jimenez, and it's been quite a few years, but I didn't give like $79 for it.
Oh, really?
And that was brand new. That was not used. That was brand new in the box.
Why?
Because it was $79 and it was a little 22 and it was all tiny and it weighs like 6 pounds to be all tiny. It's weird because it's really heavy. But again, it's just fun. It's just some fun little gun.
Clover Patriot out there says, where can I find the John Malkovich pistol in the movie In the Line of Fire?
You're gonna have to make that one yourself, just like he did.
I don't think that was ever out, was it? Like as an actual firearm?
No, he cast it with resin and all that shit. Yeah, he made that. Just watched that movie not long ago. Great flick.
Yeah. Chris Lang says, Clover, what's up with rare breed triggers? I don't know. Clover Mike, rare breed triggers.
You could 3D print that probably, couldn't you?
I'm sure someone has
you probably could. Someone's got a design out there for sure.
That's basically all it was some 3D printed thing that like
except
nowadays.
He cast it.
Well, he did, but I mean you could 3D print it nowadays.
Yeah. Anybody know about rare breed triggers?
Nope.
Never heard of them.
Never heard.
I'm going to look it up though. It looks like an AR-15 trigger. So here's the thing, y'all were talking about that earlier. I don't own an AR-15 trigger that's not a just a mil spec that I've worked on myself tweak some springs, polished up trigger. Yeah. I just don't own one. Don't see a need to, honestly.
No, I hear you.
Honestly, I bought that PSA drop-in trigger because it was a drop-in trigger, and I was feeling too freaking lazy to put it together.
Hey, I hear you.
Mm-hmm.
The Hybrid Fire comes with a couple of different springs that you can set the weight to, but the is a drop-in trigger, and I have had zero issues. Now, is it the greatest thing ever? No, but it's pretty damn good for $100.
If you've got the right tools already, right? We're talking files. We're talking about super high grit sandpaper and polishing compounds and other things, which I've had for many years. And you've worked on triggers in the past, right? You're familiar with it. There is a certain amount of satisfaction to be able to go in and do stuff like that, do trigger jobs yourself and see the difference.
If you are mechanically ignorant or mechanically challenged, sometimes a drop-in trigger is a hell of a lot easier than trying to figure out what part goes where. And all of that.
You use the wrong stones or get the angle wrong on the sear, and you've ruined something.
Buy another trigger.
You've ruined something. Yeah, you start over. So yeah, you need some old junkers, and this is what I know G-Webs is big. He's real big into like junkers and parts guns and different things. But that's one cool thing about this. I know we're talking about budget and guns and different things, but here's an idea. If you want to up your gunsmithing skills, like some of the stuff we're talking about, trigger jobs and other things, buy some broken guns if you can find them at gun shows or whatever for $20-$30. I mean, they're beyond repair, but you can steal your polishing and all of those type skills. You could practice on those.
For anyone out there wanting to know about the rare breed, Patriot out there, this is it, Wheeled and Well Armed, has a video on the rare breed trigger.
Nice.
So go check out that channel right there. That's the great thing about our little kind of our friends. We may not, but someone in our crew, someone in our group of friends probably has experience in pretty much whatever you're looking for. So if one of us doesn't know, we probably know someone that has firsthand experience. And Patriot was nice to know that he knows that Wheel and Well Arm has a video on it, so he's got firsthand experience. So now G out there says you go to jail when you grind that old trigger too much, old timer. And yes, I do have a video on the Digi Trigger. I love the Digi Trigger. I think it's great. And once again, they're fun as hell to shoot. No application aside from just having fun on the range. Maybe in a Red Dawn scenario. Maybe.
Nah, then you just take the guns from the dead commies.
That's what I'm doing. How many times have you yelled? And I don't know, maybe I'm just different. I yell at movie theaters, movies a lot. People are idiots. But how many times have you yelled at the movie, pick up the goddamn gun?
I couldn't
They walk
count.
right past it, and it's just like, pick up the gun, pick up the ammo. Because that's what we're going to do in real life. But in movies, no, that Glock 17 must have a freaking unlimited amount of rounds going through that thing. But let's just leave the fully auto AK on the ground. We don't need that. I just need my Glock. I need my SIG.
I love it. I love it when the whatever it might be, good guy, bad guy, staring down the barrel of a decocked 1911 like he's fixing to actually get shot. I would be whooping on somebody. That's just me. But you pull a 1911 on me and the hammer's not cocked, we fix some fight.
Yep.
Do y'all remember? I'm not sure which one of the which one it was, Lethal Weapon movies with Jet Li. And Mel Gibson has this 92 and Jet Li like just grabs it and like field strips it in one move. You're just like, wait, what?
You can do that too if you practice that.
Not
it's fun.
As film.
No, you could. I think if you practiced it enough, you probably could.
Maybe,
it's not that difficult to do. Now, as fast as him, yes, I agree. Would take some practice, but
I remember watching that going, wait, what? What was that? What?
There's been a lot of movies that they've done that and then end up using the slide to beat somebody with it or something even.
Yeah. Oh yeah. people say that the high point is the greatest boat anchor and pistol whipping firearm ever created. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with exactly. I don't agree with that. I think there are many better firearms that would be better boat anchors and pistol whipping weapons. Just saying. I think that a Browning M2 would be a much better anchor than a high point.
All right.
It's a 125-pound rifle. Just saying. Let's see here. Aztec says, or when a revolver is in the face of someone with no bullets in the cylinders. That's fair.
What was that?
Fair.
That was
in something not too long ago. Yeah.
Oh, I was watching Shooter, the series. I watched all that. Yeah. And the dude that supposedly robbed the bank, was it season 3 or something when all that went down?
Yeah.
And they were showing the supposed bank robbery, and he pulls the revolver out on the security guard at the bank, and I'm like, I'd whoop his, and my wife's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, look, it's not loaded.
There's nothing there.
It's like there's nothing in it.
Yep, no doubt.
that series is pretty horrible with gun stuff for it to be called Shooter.
But it is such a phenomenal
series. I agree. It was a pretty good series, but it was just with some of the almost anti-gun ignorance that's spouted, and then some of the gunplay as well.
Anti-gun. It's just like it's not an anti-gun show, but like you said, the ignorance of the people
he was like,
running it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they were like talking about it. He was like,
this
has got to be
doing that for sure.
He was like, there's very few people in the world that can make a headshot at 800 yards. And I'm like, what the heck are you talking about? I'll go make it right now. If you let me pick the rifle I can make it with, it's like, what?
If you spend as much time with that rifle as he has,
right.
Like, not a problem.
Yeah, whatever.
Oh Lord!
I always like these TV SWAT teams that come rolling in with their flat top ARs with not a sight one, no sights on them, none. It's great.
Yeah, I'll say this: what used to drive me crazy back in the 70s and 80s movies is all the hip fire with ARs and AKs. At least now they don't have any sights, like you said, no irons, no dots. There's nothing on there, but at least they're up, and at least they're not hip firing. Everyone's accurate as hell hip firing. But yeah, it is funny because there are going to be the vast majority of people that watch stuff like that have never touched a firearm that don't pick up on that.
Yeah, my wife gets mad at me because I'm screaming at just like Clover. I'm screaming at it's like they got no freaking sights. What the hell?
Yep. At least they've gotten away from the hip fire.
Or the other thing that got me about Shooter was, did you notice this? Every time it would look like they were looking through a scope, and then the camera angle would flip, and they would be watching somebody with binoculars. What? Yeah. Who has a set of binoculars with crosshairs in it?
Not even a spotting scope. No binoculars.
Yeah, I mean, I could see BDC, something with spotting scope or some kind of thing, but binoculars with crosshairs? First of all, how does that even work? Because you've got 2 lenses.
You got 2, they're going to have to line up perfectly.
So that's like, how does that technology work? I don't understand. But yeah, it drove me up the wall.
Absolutely. Deuce says, love the fart trigger, forced action reset trigger. There you go. AHD out there says $81 plus tax. There's an 81 reference. Love it. Love the 81 reference. For those that aren't familiar with the 81, check out Clover's live streams the last couple of months on the Texas Constitutional Carry. You'll understand. Start at the live stream that is talking about the Senate committee hearing that had open testimony time. You'll know exactly within 3 minutes of what we're talking about. Let's see here. Going about an hour and a half. Fantastic. Mike, I know you're a trooper, bro. You're a trooper. You are looking pale.
He's got a little more color, it looks like. Are you feeling better?
His cheeks are starting to get a little bit.
I'm feeling a little better.
When we first started, you looked like that you needed, be honest, guys, right before we hit the go live button, he almost decided to go to the hospital. Yeah.
He just had the 6-hour COVID. It's all good.
That's right. Yeah. Yep. Holy shit. I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole either. So let's move on quickly. So before we start doing closing remarks or anything, is there anything you want to bring up when it comes to the word budget, when it comes to not just firearms or anything? Is there anything that you want to bring up that we haven't really touched on that drives you crazy? Or
we talked about, you talking to budget or me?
Yeah, budget sounds just like fucking Clover, I tell you.
Oh, I thought, yeah. I'm not watching the screen sometimes.
Yeah. No. Clover, go ahead. Like,
no, budget go. Let budget go first.
Jesus Christ. Budget, someone talk. I don't care. Go ahead, budget.
No, go ahead, Clover. I'm good.
You know, nothing else needs to be added. We think we've kind of covered stuff.
Nah, I mean, I've kind of said it. I think that G-Web's comment on great gear doesn't have to break the bank is really sums it up. How
are you going to implement that into your branding now? I'm interested because that's going to flow really nicely.
I haven't decided yet. It's definitely going to be in channel art, in my channel art. It's going to be in my media kit for sure. And I don't know.
I never emailed my media kit, did I?
No, sir, you never did.
I will do that manana morning. Shoot me a text if you will. Okay. And I will forget. I'm bad about that, but I will email you my media kit. All right. Sorry about
Assuming that. I haven't died overnight. Yeah.
Well, if I get a text from you in the morning, then I'll know that you're cool. If I don't, then I'll start worrying about you. Then again, you might forget to remind me. So
yeah, I might.
It's all good. Clover, go ahead. Kind of anything you want to bring up that we maybe have touched on.
Well, you and I talked that sort of goes down this road. We talked a little bit about it personally about
yes, we did.
This idea that, you know, if you can't put shots in the same hole at 50 yards or something, you don't need to be carrying, or you shouldn't be handling a firearm, or you're unsafe, or some kind of, you know, it's just, you know, like I was talking about earlier with me and the single action revolvers, you know, I'm proficient enough that I'm not dangerous, and I'm proficient enough that I can have fun with them. But I wouldn't carry one because I know my limitations on the rudimentary sights with those and whatnot. So those are reserved for, you know, on the range and having fun, right? Mm-hmm. My Glock 42 is a totally different story. You know, I would go into any situation in the world with that because I'm 100% capable and competent and confident with that, right?
Correct.
But people want to, there's this one-up attitude, right, that people have. It's like, oh, that group sucks, or you suck at doing this, or you suck at doing that. Well, we're all different. We all have, just because I'm bad at one thing, you know, especially if I'm man enough to admit it, like the single action revolvers, right? Then where's the problem? Because I'm sure I'm better than that particular person that's trying to make somebody feel bad. That's all they're doing, right? They're trying to stroke their own ego because they probably have inadequacies. Let's be honest about it. But, you know, regardless, we all have our thing, and we're all bad at some things and good at others. So it kind of goes into the denigrating people for their quote unquote budget guns, right? And if your sole purpose is home defense and you put, you know, maybe a few rounds a month just for familiarity through it, and other than that, the high point stays in the nightstand, then what in the world's wrong with the high point? Seriously, leave people alone, right? If you've got a problem with it and you can afford something more and you want something more, and whatever the case may be,
go buy it.
Go after it, right? And this whole idea of training, you know, you've talked about training a lot on this podcast. You know, if you seek something like that, and that's something you want to seek out and go do and whatever, that's fine. But as long as you're proficient and competent and good enough, and especially if we're talking self-defense.
Silhouette. You need to be a precision shooter. Silhouette. In that threat.
Man. That's in that threat. Because you're talking about, you know, there's lots of situations where even if you are a crack shot bullseye shooter that can, you know, stand there at 25 yards, but then even if you are that crack shot bullseye shooter that can stand there at 25 yards and put them in the same hole, what happens when you have to do that on the move? What happens when you're under pressure when you do that? What happens when that target is also moving? That's a whole different situation. And you can be just as bad a shot as anybody else given the proper situation and set of circumstances.
Now, there's going to be people out there that are thinking that we are getting ready to end. All we were doing was taking care of that previous budget word. We've got one more topic that I want to bring up, and it's something that Clover had brought up to me in a phone call. And he says, I got a topic, but I can't remember what it was. Oh, shit, I remember what it was, type thing. And it kind of goes into the budget and all of that. But I don't know if it was a comment. I want to let Clover explain to it. But the question is when is a product, whether it's a red dot, a firearm, ammo, a sling, whatever it is, when is something good enough? Like, what is that line? When is it good enough to be considered legitimate?
When is good enough?
But that's, you want to explain the premise? Maybe there was a comment or a question that was asked.
Yeah, it was sort of like I've mentioned to before when we were talking, and I just talked about. I get comments all the time that, I've tested something or whatever, and they like, oh, you suck at shooting. For example, with the single action revolvers, and it's like, did you not listen to the video? I have a problem with shooting. Apparently, you've got a problem with listening, because I said that. So, but it's still a 6-inch group at 15 yards or whatever. It's like, what's the problem with
it? It ends the threat.
It also puts rounds on steel if you're playing around.
Or if you're hunting, it's going to probably take care of
plenty enough to take down a coyote or a hog or something. Yeah. What's the problem? I don't get it. So, but yeah, that extends over into the gear and the guns that we talked about earlier too, is when is good enough. And that's what I said about the high point. If your purpose for that literally is to, okay, I'm going to stay familiar, with it. So I'm going to shoot a half a box of ammo a month through it. You know what I'm saying? Just to brush up. But then the rest of the time it stays in a nightstand drawer. Right. And why? That's good enough for some people, I think. Right. And so a lot of people would go, well, use that while you save up the money to get something better. But my question is, if that's all it's ever going to be used for, why spend the money to buy something better? Because that's very likely 99.9% of the time going to get it done.
That's right. Mike, going to bring you in and kind of ask that question. When is good enough?
When it works.
For whatever application you're good.
Yeah. When it does what you want it to do. I mean, really, when it does what you want it to do. Doesn't have to be the most greatest whiz bang, awesome, super cool stuff ever. Mm-hmm. If it works, if it does what you want it to do every time you want it to do it, there you go. When you're happy with that.
Yeah. So, and I'm going to throw G under the bus here, not because it's G-Wes, because I'm going to have fun with this, because this is something that I hear a lot too. When your life depends on it, quality gear, or go spend more for quality gear if it's going to save your life. So I'm going to flip this just for devil's advocate. G has a link out there. Why the hell he's not in here, I don't know. But I'm going to say this. I'm going to flip the script and say the word quality can be just as misleading as the word budget on the opposite end of the spectrum. Someone says, oh, this is a quality one. What makes it quality? Because you paid more for it? Does that make it automatically more quality because it costs more? Or does it work that much better than this one? That word quality gets thrown around. And I think a lot of it comes down to a price point. Once again, I promise you, you can go buy your $3,000 handguns all you want. I'm gonna go grab my $300 Canic, and I'll wear your ass out in a Red Dawn scenario if we're going to go handgun to handgun. And I feel confident in that but it has nothing to do with the quality of that firearm. If it's good enough, like Clover says, is if it's good enough to work and not malfunction and to be safe to use and to be reliable to go bang every time you pull that trigger, and I can shoot that thing really well, I'll take it over $1,200, $2,000 gun anytime. Now, I understand what G is saying. In generalities, if you're going to buy a gun to go plink with, and it's going to be that nightstand gun or whatever, the truck guns you put in your truck and forget about it all the time, and if it gets stolen, type thing, I get it. If it's a gun you're going to carry every day and you're going to make that your self-defense gun every day on your person, you may want to think about going to get something maybe a little bit more, at least tested, more proven. It doesn't necessarily be more expensive, but just something that may not be that low end that's unproven yet. Maybe. I get that. But once, like I said, when is good enough? When it does exactly what you need it to do every time. Now, what you got there, man?
I would put this X-Star EP9 up against any PCC out there. Anything in this size range, in this class. Because this is like a $450 gun, and it'll shoot circles around just about any damn thing.
When we get to Tennessee in the fall, bring that with you. I'll bring my Foxtrot Mite 5.5-inch 9, and let's have fun. That'd be a really cool video. Yeah. Whoever wins. But I think it'd be a cool video because I think those are two of the more popular ones that are out there right now. Yep. Those two brands, and that would be a really cool head-to-head thing. That'd be kind of cool. So bring that with you, and I'll bring mine.
The Ruger PC Charger.
Yeah.
Same price, not price point, but same form factor, same caliber, same size. But you know what? That X-Star does the job for a lot less. On the other hand, you have more aftermarket options with the Ruger, and a Ruger is, all metal and whatnot. So
and it's a Ruger, so it must be better.
Yeah. Well, it depends on what you want from it. If you want something that goes boom, well, you know what? As I said, I'll put that X-Star up against anything. It's a damn good little gun.
I'm trying to catch up on my little rant. Guns and Barbecue says Fost Tactical. What's up, Fost? I know it is that every time I've pulled the trigger on a high point, it's gone bang every time, and personally have never had a malfunction with one. I love my Rugers, but I can't say the same. I'm not even saying that the high point is going to be is going to go bang every time. I can just tell you that the high point that I have, the handgun, the C9 that I have, goes bang. The high point that I have hits a target every time I shoot it. The high point C9 that I have, I'm not saying that it'd be my go-to, but if that was the only thing that was left, I would feel 100% confident that could help me in a threat. That's my experience with my high point. I personally will sit there and say that I have seen on way too many occasions a Smith & Wesson SD9 VE fail miserably. So yep. I will sit there and say, I don't think that's a good gun, and I will never own one. But will I ever tell someone, don't go buy that gun? I say, no, make sure you go shoot it beforehand. But if it works for you and you like it, go buy it. I'm going to tell you what I have personally seen with that gun. I've seen it blow up. I've seen it malfunction. I've seen it do a lot of things. I would never own one, but I'm never going to tell someone that if they've done their due diligence and that's what they want and that's what they can afford, I'd rather you have that than a stick. All right. So no spell checking the blind guy. Hey, if you're going to come in here and you're going to start typing, then you're opening yourself up. He knows that. So he and Patriot both know that I can give them hell because they're choosing to type. That's their decision. No, just kidding. Yeah, exactly. And he's saying, if you had to trust it. So do you have a high point budget?
I had a 995 TS, the carbine.
Okay.
They're freaking great. I would have trusted that thing for anything.
Absolutely. Yep. So you would.
The only thing I didn't like about that gun was the magazine capacity, the 10-round mag capacity.
You can get a 25.
Yeah, I'm not real happy about those Red Bull mags.
I don't either. I don't like them.
Yeah.
I would like to think that maybe one day that High Point would be able to come through with a Glock magazine adapter or something.
That would be great.
Yeah, just saying. But so you would recommend the High Point that you have had and had experience with, you would recommend it?
Absolutely. I would have had no problems whatsoever trusting it with my life. None.
Clover, I know you own multiple High Points. Would you, if someone were to say, I've got someone that's stalking me or whatever, I've got this much money, and what that money can buy you is a High Point, would you have any problems recommending a High Point to someone?
If that's absolutely all they can afford and they have an immediate need, no matter what that need honestly is, yeah. Now, depending on the urgency in the situation, maybe not, right? So, like, if it's not as urgent of a need, let's say for example, they've got a shotgun already, right? Or something.
Sure.
Then maybe not at that point, right?
Sure. It's someone that doesn't own a firearm and
they don't own anything.
Someone that is stalking them and the police won't do anything about it, and they're truly in fear for their lives. They have $185 in their pocket.
Yep.
I wouldn't have any problem saying, that High Point will get you through until you do whatever you need to do, or you find you can afford something else. But if you have literally $185,
I've done that.
I've been that guy. Doesn't
Yeah.
suck. I mean, Texas soon to have constitutional carry, hopefully, and it doesn't matter. But, even if you had an Uncle Mike's holster, right, for your High Point, right, and you had to carry it outside the waistband in an Uncle Mike's holster, which, let's face it, would be uncomfortable, right?
Suck. Yeah.
But you could always wear a jacket or something over it, and you could take that out with you. So you could do that. Now, while I've never had any problems with my High Point, I've never carried a High Point on a regular basis. So depending on sweat and humidity and elements and pocket lint and and clothing lint and pollen and other elemental factors that arise from carrying a firearm around, that would be one of the concerns I would have, and I might express that to them is, look,
absolutely,
outside of using it in your home for defense, where it just stays in a drawer and you don't have those factors. I don't know, because I never have put mine through the ringer like that.
I've never put mine through like a torture test. Maybe I will. That'd be kind of fun. Maybe,
but is it going to be?
Care if it really doesn't pass or not.
But here's the thing: is a torture test necessary? I get the torture test, the barrel meltdown video.
I'm not talking about.
I get that. What I'm saying, or the gauntlet or whatever. I get that those
500 rounds real quick, and
I get that,
all that stuff. Yeah,
I get even 500 rounds real quick. I get that stuff is educational to an extent. It reveals a lot, and it's entertaining. But at the end of the day, anything outside that person's normal or intended use doesn't matter. We get back to how good is good enough.
I think for testing and for reviewing circumstances, I think it does matter, because, and here's why. If you can go and put a gun through a 500 or 1,000 round, not saying a meltdown, but just good solid pace, mag changes, dropping a couple times and all of that kind of stuff, because what you're saying is if you're never going to do that, and yours is going to be the coffee table gun or the nightstand gun, the truck gun or whatever, it would be nice to know that it can handle that. Because if it handles that, then it will be able to handle where I'm going to put it through. That would be the only reason why I could see the validity of that.
Assuming, no matter what the make or model, assuming it's one of those that's not built on a Monday or Friday, correct?
Very much
because
true.
Even if it's a $1,500 handgun that you've seen Iraqi veteran put 90,000 rounds through, if you got one that has a factory,
people are out the door. They don't give a shit.
You get the one that has a factory flaw, you're screwed. So there's always an element, regardless of what you're dealing with. There's always an unknown element that something could go wrong.
Mike, you feeling bad? You got to go, or you just got to go?
Yeah. I'm feeling like crap. I'm going to go lay down and go to sleep.
Do you want to plug anything, or you just want to go to sleep?
Mike, Budget Guns and Gear Reviews. Might even stay Budget Guns and Gear Reviews. Find me here on YouTube at Budget Guns and Gear Reviews, on the web at budgetgunsandgear.com. Budget Guns and Gear on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and EIO. Do a live stream every Friday called The Right of the People, where we use the first to defend the second. We talk about Second Amendment related news, politics, and current events. Have a usually, except tomorrow I'm not going to because I'm not feeling like doing any damn video for it this week. I do a bushcraft woodsman type video on Wednesdays. But that's not going to be tomorrow. I'm just,
Yeah, no, I hear you, bro.
I'm not with it.
Get feeling better. If you need anything, text me. Whatever.
Yeah.
Feel better, bro. Hope you get better.
Have a good one, and everybody out there in the chat, y'all have a good one too.
You got it, bud. Be safe. So let me ask you a question, Clove. Your opinion.
Oh Lord, it's not worth much, but okay.
Your opinion / what consensus is, not just what the people, but the true consensus of this. What, I don't know, we'll start with this. Just your experience, your opinion, the guns that you've handled and owned that you would feel comfortable saying, what is the most reliable firearm that you've ever been around? Like, I know that this is the most reliable model of a gun that's around.
Gonna hate me. People are gonna hate me. Glocks.
Okay.
Glocks. So and let me caveat. Let me back up. At one time, I was a Glock hater. I talk about having one of the very first Springfield XDs that come out, right? Like when they first introduced the XD. I have an XD9 4-inch. Why? Because I didn't like Glock. Right?
Yep.
I had a buddy that sold me on a Glock 20. And I just didn't like Glock. I didn't like the way it looked. I didn't like the way it looked. I didn't like the way it felt. Glock, right? So I never really gave them a chance because I just did not like them. All right. I didn't have any other real opinion, which a lot of people are that way. I was that way too, and still that way on some things, quite honestly. But so I bought the Springfield XD. Love the Springfield XD. It's amazing. Yeah. It's still an awesome handgun.
Really? I own one.
A few years after that, a buddy said, "Oh man, have you ever shot the Glock 20?" I was like, "Glock." He's like, 10 millimeter. And I'm like, "Whoa," because you know how much I've always liked 10 millimeter. So I was like, that piqued my interest. I said, "Oh, wait a minute. Okay, being 10 millimeter, I can stand the taste of Glock in my mouth, right?" Sure. So I went out and I shot it, and it was freaking amazing. Amazing. So then I ended up getting a 17L. And then I ended up getting, you know what I mean? Another Glock and another Glock. And I've got 5 or 6 Glocks now. I don't have the 19, the most popular Glock in the world, but I don't know. I've got 3 or 4 or something. But yeah, I mean, I hate to say it because I was a Glock hater at one time, and now I'm kind of indifferent. I don't really care one way or the other. Sure. Whatever your thing is, go with it. But as far as what you're talking about, I hate to say it, but if there's one that and I'm not going to say necessarily any particular one of my Glocks, but if there's one that's like you 100% have to trust your life in any given situation at any given time, right? What would you grab? Right? For best odds. And it would be, unfortunately, it'd be a Glock.
It'd be that or the Camel. Right now, I'd still pick that because of history and my personal track record. I've had it longer. I know what this thing can do. It has literally been through hell and back,
Yep.
and it still goes.
Yep. Now, if I'm going to go shoot competition, if I'm going to go hunting, if I'm going to go out on the
Well,
range and have
different
fun,
issue.
Glock is way down on the list.
Mhm.
At that point, it really is. As fun as they honestly are to shoot in that capacity too. There's many other firearms I
34
would
is not
shoot.
a bad one for like an IDPA or USPSA, but yeah, there's a
But
lot better.
if you corner me
you're a
into
blind guy, then go shoot a 34, and it's not bad. Yeah,
if you corner me into okay, you're faced with an unknown situation that you're going to have to depend your life is going to depend on that. I hate to say it, but yeah, I'll say it again. Glock.
Absolutely. All right, so let me ask you this: so Glock is what you consider the most reliable, and that's
That I have access to.
no that you have access to, all that, and that's a mid-level price range gun.
I would consider it to be, yes.
So there are guns that are much more expensive that aren't as reliable. So now I want to go to another question with you, and whether you've had access with it, or just consensus, what would you consider as the most quality gun of all time?
Price is no option.
Price is no option.
Man, that's a good one. And we're talking handguns, right?
Let's just say handguns. Just,
with me, you're gonna have to break that down. Semi-auto handguns.
Let's just say handguns, just because it could go down a lot of rabbit holes.
Semi-auto. Let's say semi-auto.
Pistol.
Yeah,
that's right. Here we go.
Yeah, semi-auto handguns. Man, that's a good question. That I own, or it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Man, Canic just God, I don't own a Canic, but the Canic stuff, dude, I'm just bang for the buck. I mean, in normal times, especially. I'm looking for the needle in the haystack because you know me, I'm an opportunistic buyer, or I would already own several Canics. I want them at, I want to find one at 200 or 250. You know what I mean?
That's someone put the wrong price tag on. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a buyer at even 300 at this point, which would be a steal, I think, in today's market. But yeah, I mean, I've shot a ton of them, and they're impressive.
Yep.
But that being said, again, I hate to, I'm shilling turkey here. So, but the Gerson MC stuff, which is very similar, and then the what am I thinking? Some of the stuff from Tanfoglio, which is really similar, and then you got some, which is not turkey, that's Italian. But then you've got some of the stuff from SAR as well, like your SAR 9, for example, is solid for the money.
Absolutely. Charlotte says you could tell. And I can see you doing this. It's as soon as I ask the question, you can tell that he's just got images running through your mind. Absolutely,
it's tough. But I'll tell you why. I said one of the reasons I said Canic, because I did mention the other ones, the SAR, for example, whatever it might be, even some stuff. There's even some stuff from Taurus. I worry about Taurus, okay, and I own plenty, but I just don't know that I hang my hat up on Taurus, even though I personally never had any problems. I've seen a lot, right? I haven't seen a lot of issues with the Canic, so that takes the lead there. Aesthetically talking, as far as the way it looks, right? The curves, the lines, the cuts, everything else that's in the Canics,
right?
To me, they're beautiful handguns.
They're great.
They've got that VP9, that H&K, that European look to them.
They've kind of
like the Walthers.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's got that VP9. It's also got that 17 slide look to it a little bit. I mean, it's a little more rounded, a little more, maybe more aerodynamic, but I mean, it's just one of those, I think they're beautiful guns. And here's my thing. I know this sounds crazy. I do. When I'm looking at guns to buy, the first thing I look at is not price. The first thing I look at, not talking about feel, but just look at is, do I like the looks of that gun?
Yep. Yeah.
If the answer is no, I ain't buying it. I don't care what the price is. I'm sorry.
I'll buy it just
If
for
it
the
doesn't
look.
look
I ain't gonna
good,
lie.
yeah, if it looks good,
Yeah.
then I'm going to have positive thoughts on that before I even pick it up. If that thing, that thing is ugly looking, I'm probably not even going to pick it up. And I know that a lot of people, that's stupid. Well, I'm stupid, but it is what it is.
Well, like I said, I'll buy it, and I buy stuff for all the various reasons, but I will buy stuff just because it looks cool for no other reason. Because you know what? At the end of the day, as long as it goes bang, I'll go out on the range every now and then and go bang and enjoy how it looks and stuff.
Absolutely. Would you take a chance on a Taurus 1911 at $400?
Oh yeah, I would. There's nothing wrong with Taurus. Here's the thing with Taurus. When I say, and I'm glad whoever that was that brought that up.
That was
Big Gab?
That was Big Gab. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, let me back up on the Taurus with me. And like, again, it's not speaking bad of Taurus. I own many and haven't had any issues with any of them. But as G's pointed out a bunch out there in the chat talking about quality control, Taurus is just not known for good quality control. So it worries me that they could
On
give
top of not having good quality control, their customer service is also not very good.
So even though I've never had a problem,
historically,
even though I've never had a problem, the odds of me having a problem, right? We're talking statistics here and probability are higher with Taurus because of quality control. But here's the thing: I believe with Taurus, the PT 1911 and the PT 92 are the more solid of what Taurus puts out.
Mm-hmm.
I would trust those long before anything else.
I'm happy with my G3.
Yeah.
Caveat to that, I wasn't expecting much.
Right.
Okay. It definitely has surpassed my expectations, but it is still way down on a list of if I had to get one gun to grab and go do my thing, it's probably not even close to a top 10, but it has surpassed my expectations of a Taurus. You talk very highly of the 92 of the PT, was it PT 111 or whatever it's called? Whatever they're 1911 or whatever.
PT 1911, yeah.
Yeah. You've talked highly about those.
Yeah. I've got
a couple. Yeah.
Run as good as any other 1911 I've got, quite honestly.
Now, let me ask you this. I'm not a 1911 guy, you know that. Rock Island. A lot of people say that might be the best valued 1911 in the world is the Rock Island. Have you any experience with that?
I can't confirm that it's that way anymore, but when Rock Island first started making 1911s, they were literally made on refurbished Colt equipment. So somebody talked earlier about stuff being made on, they literally purchased surplus equipment from Colt and refurbished it to build. Now, I don't know if it's that way anymore. I can't tell you. What was the question? Well, like Rock Island versus a Taurus?
No, I'm just saying. Once again, I'm not a 1911 guy, so
I think a Rock Island is an okay 1911.
A lot of people will say that Rock Island makes one of the best value for the price 1911s. And I was asking your experience.
Rock Island, when you get into value, the thing with Rock Island, this from what I've seen anyway, is plain Jane models. I think there's some value there. When you get into bells and whistles and two-tone and skeletonized triggers and hammers and slide cuts and different things, right?
Yeah.
The price considerably seems to go up with Rock Island. So is the value there anymore? I don't know. But I will say this about the Philippines. Like the 1911 is and that's where obviously the Rock Island's made, right? The Philippines, the 1911 is like a golden idol to the people in the Philippines, man. I don't know what the deal is, if it had something to do with, the wars fought around that area or what all happened, but it's almost a cultural thing. Filipino people I know worship the 1911. That's like their handgun.
The Philippines was occupied by American forces up until like the 70s, early 80s.
Yeah.
So
they've seen a lot of them. Forever.
There's a ton of them around there. Absolutely. A ton of them.
And so you would think because of that culture, they are probably a little more true to the original, right? 1911, whereas other companies deviate, try new things and what have you. So I might actually trust a Rock Island more than a Taurus, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yep.
I said Rock Island makes some junky stuff too. The M38 revolvers. Is it the M38? I think.
Don't get me lying. Don't get me lying.
Ooh.
You're asking me about revolvers? What the hell's
Yeah,
wrong?
I know, but I think it is. They're 38. They're 38. They're 38 revolver, not the new ones, not the new that one that I had the 22.
Just for you asking me that, I've got
not the AL series. The AL series is made in the Czech Republic, but the M38s and firing pin spring issues. I've seen a bunch of issues with those, but like I said, 1911 is not so much.
Yeah.
I actually got to play with one
revolvers of the 80s. Come on, man. There you go.
I know you talk about the smaller frame 9mm 1911s.
Yeah.
And I got to play with one of those. I think I told you about that. A Rock Island that came through the shop here a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it was just a plain Jane model, and it was decent. It was decent. I mean, first impression, what I got of it and everything else. Obviously, I did extensive testing or nothing else with it, but I was like, I was kind of impressed for the price.
Patriot says they still make them in grass huts in the back of the Philippines. That would not surprise me. Would not surprise me. All right. Right there, the 2-hour mark, which is kind of where we like to, unless we just have really interesting, cool shit to cut it off. But this is when both of us start getting cranky, tired, hungry, gotta pee, all that stuff comes into it. For me, I gotta smoke. So the 2-hour mark is about where we gotta go with it. Now, Big Gab TV says that the Academy has a Taurus 1911 for $499. Right now, that's probably not a bad price at all. Let's see here. The 9mm 19. This is GUS. The 9mm 1911 is a slap in the face to Browning. Okay. I think that the fact that the Browning has, that Browning would be happy that the 1911 is still a relevant firearm, even if it means that for some people it has to reinvent itself with different calibers. The fact that over 100 years later, that design is still relevant.
Yeah.
I think he'd probably be proud of that.
Yeah, and that's what I was fixing to say when we were talking about the PT92 and the PT1911 from Taurus, or if it's another variant made by another company even. Those are like not true designs to that company, right? So the design, the basics of the mechanics and how it works is all basically the same, right? It's not like they invented a whole new firearm that may or may not be reliable or work. They're building something based off proven designs. So I think when you go that route, you stand a better chance of getting something a little more reliable and a little better.
Absolutely.
But a lot of people don't.
Just buy a high power. There you go.
Yeah, no kidding. And there are Argentine versions and other versions of the can't think of all of them offhand, but there are other versions of the high power that are, to me, are just as good as a Browning.
Yep. All righty. Man, you got a lot of stuff you've been going on. You're following a lot of stuff. You want to talk a little bit about what's going on with you, but also for those that might have missed recently, I don't know if you want to go down the rabbit hole of talking about the update of the Texas constitutional carry, or
it's
we can. Your handler or what, but yeah, go for it. You got the floor.
We can. It's pretty easy to go through. It has passed of a short story on it. If anybody wants the details, there's a playlist with hours and hours and hours and hours of coverage. Go literally 30, 40 hours.
I've been complaining about a 2-hour chat. You were on for 10 hours.
Yeah, I know, right? Lately, 5 or 6 hours is nothing for me. But anyway, I don't suffer from that issue for sure. Anyway, but yeah, if you want all the details and stuff, and recommend it if you got nothing better to do. It certainly gives you a insight to the process. You and I have talked about this, but a lot of people, they eat the gummy bears, but they have no idea how it's made. In other words, they see the headline that so-and-so passed this bill, right? Whatever it might be. and you're like, yay, we won. There's it. But you have no idea the process that it has to go through in government and how murky and muddy and nasty and crazy and all the twists and turns that happen. And you don't get to see. We denigrate politicians, and admittedly, I should say, for the most part, politicians deserve it. But when you see certain people and you're following the process and you see them on the House floor, right? They don't have media necessarily all around them and 24/7, not at the state level, 24/7 CNN footage, right? And all kinds of stuff. And you see them make these speeches and defend certain things. And, you see everything that's going on. I mean, it's just cool. And then the hearings you mentioned that we covered, right? And the regular people that got up and spoke in front of government on both sides. You got to give credit even to the moms chicks and the people that opposed it. They got up there and man, they had their points laid out in their speech and they spoke. And I mean, it's a beautiful thing to 10 hours of that is a pain in the butt to sit through and watch. But at the end of the day, that's how it works. I mean, these yahoos should have to sit through 10 hours of listening to the people, right? Before they consider passing something. And so long story short, it's already too late. But yeah, if you want all that process, which is awesome, go check out that playlist. It has passed. It's over and done as far as passing the House and the Senate. It's waiting on the governor to sign it. And so far, I've been trying to keep up on that because if he signs that live, if there's a feed or anything live where he signs it, I want to go live when he's doing that. But regardless, once it gets signed, we will also have kind of a celebration party. I've got a few things. We can do some drawings and give some things away and basically just hang out and relish in the win. I'm starting to get a lot of fallback now that it's actually fallout, I should say, now that it's passed the House and the Senate and it's waiting on the governor's signature. And I don't know whether it's anti-gunners coming in and trying to cause trouble or it's literally extreme right wingers coming in that nothing's ever good enough for them. But man, I'm getting all kind of flack in the comments on that. It's some of it's interesting. May have to cut a video just on some of the comments. Is pretty doggone crazy. But the vast majority of people fought very hard. They called their congressmen, they called their senators. We put massive amounts of pressures on these yahoos, and ultimately, it's going to be a victory. We're going to get it done. Is it the most perfect bill ever written? No. There is never a perfect, never been to my knowledge. Correct me if I'm wrong. Anybody is welcome to email or DM or whatever. If there's ever been a perfect piece of legislation ever in the history of government, I don't think there has been. But you know what? We got it through, and we can work on things now, moving forward, just like we always have. But yeah, that's it.
Big Gab says he's already got his backpack and holster picked out as soon as you guys can carry, which when it is signed, you said what, September 1 it goes into effect?
It will go into effect September 1. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And a lot of people don't understand why that is. But here's the thing, that's not uncommon at all for a delayed enactment of legislation, because think about it. They're having to rewrite criminal code. They're having to rewrite civil code. They're having to redo procedures because of this legislation. And it takes time.
There might even be some court cases that need to be.
That's possible too.
State Supreme Court cases filed or something.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's all kinds of things administratively that have to go into effect. Think about it. If the government signed it and immediately went into effect, well, law enforcement officers in the middle of nowhere, West Texas, may or may not know the new legislation and the law because it hasn't been rewritten into the code and that code distributed and so forth. And think of the chaos that would cause. So anytime, like I said, not uncommon, anytime any new legislation is proposed, usually there's a delay in enactment. So for all the newbies to the political process, don't freak out. That's a big deal in my comment sections too. And it's like, don't freak out over this, please. It's common. It's normal.
Big Gab has one final question that we're going to answer before we get out here. He says, would you buy pistols from a pawn shop? I can literally count on one hand how many guns that I have bought that have not been through a gun/pawn shop. Pretty much all the guns that I buy, except for maybe 3 of them, I bought a gun shop/pawn shop. So, and Absolutely. I would have no reservations buying from a pawn shop. What about you? I know your answer, but yeah, go ahead.
I can't even begin to count the number ones I have.
Right.
But I would take a little more cautious approach. First of all, do you
Sure.
know this shop and the people that own it? Are they fair people, and are they gun people? And do they know that there's nothing wrong with it? And blah, 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 blah. Because I know some pawn shops that the people don't know firearms very well. They'll take it in on the assumption that it's working and it's good, and there could be something even dangerous wrong with it, right? So first of all, how do you trust the people that's there? And then is there some type of guarantee? Most gun stores and especially big box stores, they won't allow you to return a gun. You can bring it back and they'll send it to the manufacturer for you. But a lot of the pawn shops will allow you to at least bring it in and trade it in, right? Trade it back in on something else.
Get credit.
Whatever. So see if they offer some kind of thing like that, especially if they're not gun people. And then if they're not gun people or you don't trust them, I would say find you a gunsmith.
Yeah.
Or find you a gunsmith that's maybe willing. Maybe you got a friend or acquaintance that's a gunsmith that can go down there and take a look at it. Or maybe make a deal with them where, hey, I'm going to buy this and I'm going to take it to a gunsmith. If he says there's something wrong with it, can I bring it back and trade it for something else?
Yep.
But just be cautious of that, because there are some shady pawn shops out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Great comments out there. Yeah. Yeah. So 2 hours, 10 minutes. Awesome chat. It was a fun discussion. As always, we always have fun, especially when you and Mike get together. It could go on forever. I hope Mike at Budget Gun and Gear gets better. I want to plug, if you guys missed him, he was here for the first about hour and 50 minutes, but he's a little under the weather and had to leave. Go check out Budget Guns and Gear Reviews. Great channel, all of that stuff. I'm going to give Clover some time here to plug his stuff as well. But yeah, thanks for everyone for watching out there. If you made it 2 hours, 2 minutes live, all you guys are still, the 27 of you are still out there live on the YouTube side. Thank you so much. If you're watching this or listening in podcast and you've made it this far with this, God bless you. Man, you must have literally nothing else to do or nothing else to listen to, but you're awesome. I love you. Thanks to my patrons out there, all of my YouTube channel members out there. Thanks for the guys that I want to say it was Mandatory Carrie and Lucy out there with the super chats. Appreciate you guys. But that's going to be going down range to some care package for some guys and girls out there. So thank you to that. If you are watching and replay or listening to podcast, utilize the comment section. If you have a comment that you want to get to me or a question, utilize that. If you got a question for Budget or for Clover, go ahead and put that question in the comments. I'll make sure they get that question and they'll answer you and all of that. So yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for watching. Clover, I want to give you a few minutes to, aside from the Texas 2A thing, get any projects or any podcasts that are coming up?
Oh man, I'm well, I mean,
I know you don't do anything, but if you were to do some stuff.
On that line, Matt Schaefer, who is the representative that brought forth the bill in the House. He's from Tyler. Yeah, the author of it. Working to get him on a podcast, working to get Rachel Malone from Texas GOA on a podcast, kind of talk about some behind the scenes on that. So that'll be cool coming up. I've got tons of review stuff. So a lot of the new people that have come in, I've been trying to tell them, it's like, look, I'm a dude that does reviews and I love the industry and doing that part of things. I step up for 2A when it's Texas and it's important, and I've got to use my platform for that purpose.
And no one else is doing anything with it. Yeah.
But especially when none of the big gun tubers are going to do the stuff. I mean, they're too busy shilling or whatever. But I love working with the industry.
Still not being infringed.
There you go.
Yeah.
But I love working with the industry. I love playing with new toys and new things and just having fun on the range and filming that stuff. So we're going to get back to some of that here shortly on the channel. I've got and actually coming today, we were talking off air or whatever about having about 10 items coming, and got those
bunch right here on this table that
got those off the FedEx truck. Yep. Got them off the FedEx truck today, and I'm already 10 or 12 items probably behind because of all this. So a lot of review content and other stuff coming up for sure. Was there anything else? I don't think
Semper Fi Patriot. Well, tomorrow night, are you doing a show tomorrow night?
I am going to do the
Pretty
no
interesting topic you're talking about.
tomorrow's Wednesday. Tomorrow's Wednesday. So
Thursday night. Ah, bless it is.
yeah,
I'm
the studio we're going to talk about a little bit about new channels. I had some questions from a fellow creator that seemed to think that gun tubers were a dying breed, and I don't know that I agree with that. And he was talking about he's seen some channels, and I don't know of any, but he's seen some channels that have got kind of burned out and quit and whatnot. And I don't know that I agree with that, or I've seen that happening. But we're going to talk a little bit about how to keep going and how to try to keep a channel growing and keep things interesting and fresh. And so not only getting things started, but keeping things rolling and having the right mentality about it would be a way to put it. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about Thursday night.
Awesome sauce. Thank you so much, guys. I want to wish everybody a great rest of the week. Have a very safe Memorial Day weekend. This is going to, it is every year. So if you're out there and you hear this, it might piss you off. It is what it is. Have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend this weekend. But remember what we're celebrating. When you're out there having your hot dogs and your beer and you're cooking out and you're on the lake on the boat and you're enjoying, which you should be enjoying, the time with your family and friends, spend 5 seconds of that time that you're doing that and remember and just say thanks to all. Memorial Day is about the men and women who sacrificed their lives for you to do that for our great country. This is not Veterans Day. This is not Armed Forces Day. This is Memorial Day. This is to show the ultimate respect for the ultimate sacrifice that men and women gave for our country to be where we are. So enjoy your family. Go out on the lake. Go out and do the cookouts and drink and have a great time with your family and friends. Just do me one favor. Spend 5 seconds this weekend and just say thank you to everyone that allowed you to do that. So yeah, I appreciate you guys. Have a great weekend. Go check out Budget Guns and Gear Review. Go check out CloverTac. Go check out a lot of the great creators that were out in the chat. Rich White, Patriot in the Dark, Gizzard Gary was out there. Snob was out there. Man, who am I missing? There were some great ones out there that are great creators. Obviously, G-Webs, the OG of the gun community. But go check these guys out. Check out their content and all of that. We'll see you soon. Once again, happy Memorial Day. Semper Fidelis.